certainly the Maggi impact has been there in the first quarter. But if you look at the way in which our sequential business has evolved, if you look at let's say quarter 3 of last year was about 17.5 billion roughly rupees. That went to about 19.5 billion in the last quarter of last year. The first quarter is about 23 billion. So if you look at the last 2 quarters alone, anywhere between plus 12% and plus 18% has been the evolution of the business. Now, Maggi was in full force in the first quarter of last year. Right. So obviously we've got a base effect there that is impacting us. But I'm happy to say that in the revival that we are now seeing, I call it the new dawn for Nestle.
Right.
I think the role that Maggi has played has also been signaled. So right. I would roughly say that anywhere between 30 to 40% of the revival that we have seen right. Has really come out of the Maggi stable.
Right.
But I'm also happy to report that the other businesses which had also been impacted to some extent because of what we faced on Maggi and as Nestle the organization, those also are rallying back. So our milks and nutrition business is coming back. Our chocolates and confectionery business is coming back, and also there are signs of revival in our coffee and beverage business as well. So there is I would say a secular coming back into the business. Having said that, of course, the numbers are impacted in the first quarter.
So, specifically in terms of both volume growth and sales growth, help us understand both for Maggi as well as the portfolio excluding Maggi.
Sure. Look, I think the clear contribution of Maggi has been volume. Right, because I think it was a big gaping hole in our portfolio that has come back. So I think the volume aspect there has been probably the most significant because of its absence in the previous quarters. But having said that, in the chocolate and confectionery business, I would really like to also highlight that there the comeback with some of our brands has been fairly strong. Also, I think one of the strategies, Gauri, is that this is not a unidimensional company. I mean, we forget the fact that Nestle is operating with many brands in this country, many of whom have got pole positions in terms of market shares. So I think it has also been to rejig and rejuvenate parts of the portfolio to be able to come back into the game much strongly. And in fact, in the last couple of weeks, there have been also new product launches. For example, chocolates and confectionery, we've had Munch Nuts, we've had Kit Kat Duo, right, coming back in the game, Nescafe Insta Filter, then we had Greek yogurts being put into the market. Then of course 4 variants of Maggi which were not there, they are coming back. All of this is really contributing to an overall strategy that I would like to articulate as saying that it is capturing the heart of penetration.
Right.
So really trying to ensure that we valorize this company in terms of the volume growths and also the value growths that we can derive.
In terms of margins, they have slipped as well. Is it on account of the relaunch of Maggi, or is it also because of inflationary pressures really for all the ingredients like palm oil and sugar?
Sure,
What is the reason for
Look,
the
again on margins, I would urge you, Gauri, to look at where we were. If you looked at, for example, the quarter 3 of 2015, we were at operating profit level of 11.4%. Today, in the first quarter, we have closed at 19.4%. So therefore, it's 800 basis points higher. So as the business has started to come back, the margin structures evolutions also have happened. But if you compare it to the first quarter of last year, it's about 120 basis points lower.
Right.
That is largely lower also because of scale effect. You see, the entire business is not fully back on track, and the scale effect obviously has got a underlying cost that needs to be factored in.
Right.
That as we go forward and hopefully as our volume evolutions become stronger, Gauri, I think it'll start mitigating itself.
In terms of cost incurred for relaunch of Maggi and also the A&P cost attached with it, what was it and what is it that you would set aside going forward as well?
Look, it's very clear. I think one of the first mandates that my team and I had here was to bring back Maggi. So to me, getting back Maggi is not just a question of putting it back in the market, but also getting back into the leadership position and strengthening it as we were before.
Earlier, right.
So that means, after almost like a life crisis. You know, it's in equal in terms like a heart attack for a human being.
Right.
When you come back into the game, obviously you're going to have some extra costs
Yeah.
in terms of medication, diet, health, etc., etc.
course.
This is exactly what brand Maggi has also had.
Yeah.
So I think we have put behind it disproportionate efforts. I think the team has done a fantastic job of really, and my partners and my suppliers and everyone in this ecosystem. It's a huge ecosystem out there for
course.
Maggi. They've come together, and obviously in rejuvenating them, there have been costs
Costs,
in terms of ensuring that they come up to speed. And even going forward, I want to give you the assurance, and through you also the consumers the assurance,
Right.
that we will not relent on our ambition to get back to where Maggi was before.
Which brings me to my next question as to how soon can you see that the growth trajectory in terms of sales, margins and PAT returning to the pre-ban era?
Look, two things. I think if you look at the entire company, one of the key strategies we have as a company is that we privilege growth. So, because growth is the opportunity that the new exciting India, the new urban India, the changes in lifestyles, incomes, etc., is offering us. So, we will look at new brand offerings, new categories, accelerating growth with existing brands, relaunching them. So all of this is clearly going to mean that we are going to privilege growth in a fairly significant manner.
Right.
So it's not all going to be about just the operating margins, but it's also going to be about, yes, very good, very sustainable, very decent operating margins, but also putting growth on the table.
Right. What has been the consumer responses since you've relaunched Maggi?
Look, I really I would really like to through you convey my sincere gratitude to consumers for the love and faith that they have had in brand Maggi. It's been enormous. I mean, there was a survey that was conducted by TRA in October and November of last year, right? Just at the time when Maggi was coming back. Guess which was the brand that was number one in the foods category? Maggi.
Okay.
Now, clearly the love for the brand, and I think the equity that it has built up over the last 33 years of its existence,
Yeah.
is the cachet, and it is the reward of all the efforts that the organization has put into building it. So, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as my team is concerned, we are humbled by this trust,
The response.
but we are also energized to come up with new offerings and to do new things in this brand, to excite and to serve the consumer even more.
But you know, when the vacuum was created, a lot of other brands also cashed in. Have you been able to reach those levels again? Have you been able to regain market share? And how much time do you envisage before you reach those market share levels?
Look,
again?
I think when we exited, or when we were when Maggi had to go off the market, we were at close to 80% market share. Now, in the last reading, we are at about 51% market share. So we are already market leaders.
Right.
So from zero to market leadership in about 4 to 5 months. I mean, that's quite. It tells you the strength of the brand, because there are very few brands. I mean, I've been in the FMCG space for 35 years, and I can tell you, I have not come across very many brands which have managed to come back with the kind of response, with the kind of open arm reception
That it
like
got.
Maggi has
Right.
got. So I think it's a very good start. Now, it will be speculative for me, Gauri, to say, will it take 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months? I am only signaling to you that the organization is determined to get it back to where it belonged to.
Right.
Now, it is going to be a hard way up the hill. There are new competitors. The intensity of the category is definitely quite high.
Right.
We are willing to put up to it.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.